So this is when my camera doesn't set up all that well. I couldn't see all this cool stuff that had been done. So, see here, Nick's got the railing up. Got it welded together and a whole bit. It's awesome. I almost said a bad word. That's awesome. Well, not welded. Looks like it's probably still taped together, but we'll get close. Wow, we are so close. So close. Well, good morning. Back down at the boat. A couple little things to do today. I really wanted to try and get another coat of Allwood MA on the actual tow rails, but there's like a 60% chance of rain today, and I've done too much work to want to ruin that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, or I might piddle around on some other projects, thinking about cleaning down in the inside that battery compartment where I saw those stringers rotted, start getting that cleaned up, and maybe get something measured to figure out how I would make a new bulkhead, if you will, that I might tab in and essentially use to support those new stringers for the battery box. So that's one thing I'll do. Chastity wants to snorkel in the pool where we're camping this week, so I'm going to see if I can find her fins and snorkel gear. I think it's down on the boat, but it's been here a while, so I hadn't looked in a bit. So I'll dig around and look for that too. We'll see. I got to tell you, man, today is just one of those days where nothing seemed to work out right. I was missing a fitting. I needed to be able to use an air hose to blow essentially crud out of one of the air conditioning water circulation lines. It was trickling pretty slow, and I figured it needed to be cleaned out. Didn't have that. So I thought, no problem. I use my vacuum, hook it on the export side, and we'll be set to go. I had 3 shop vacs down here, 1 high-end fine one and 2 small portable ones. The small portable one only has an intake, and it just kind of blows out a vent in the backside. The fine only has an intake. I can't find the third one. I don't know if I put it on the other boat or what. So that didn't get done. I was going to apply a coat of Allwood if the weather held up, and it's starting to look like it might. So I thought, I'm just going to do the bowsprit. That'll be one place I'll do. Don't have chip brushes down here. It's just been one sort of error after another today. I'm essentially getting next to nothing done on the boat. I did find the snorkel gear for Chastity down below, so at least I got that part, and we'll take it back to the pool for her. But man, today was a bust. I think I'm going to at least go back, scrape the inside of the hatch, prep it for white paint, and then varnishing on the teak parts. Maybe I can get that part of it done, but man, oh man, it's just I don't want to say depressing, it's just a disappointing day, Everybody, it's early morning. I decided to run by the storage shed. I'm trying to get a bunch of little things done on the boat. And today I think what I'm going to try and do, depending on how the tool situation works and what I happen to have in the truck with me, but I think I'm going to cut a new spacer that's going to go across the mizzen traveler beam and underneath the stainless steel mizzen traveler track. It was rotted, as a matter of fact. This is pieces of it. It was kind of rotted, so I need to make a new one of those. And I'm also going to try and trim the stainless steel backing plate from where the mainsheet traveler mounted to the ceiling in the galley. It was just too long. It was about 4 feet or 5 feet long. It needs to be 2.5. There's no real value in having that extra length. It just kind of looks crappy from down below. So I need to cut it. And I frankly have lost my angle grinder with my cutoff wheel on it. I just used it a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the stanchion bases and had to modify all those backing plate washers. I hate when I lose stuff like that. I mean, it can't be that far, but I'm here at the storage shed. You can kind of see the mess inside. I'll pull a table out. We'll get a couple of these things done. Hoping to just take an hour and then still head to work on time. See ya. Really lazy here. I'm just going to sand this from the top side here and then turn it around and sand it from this side. A little bit of a cheat way, but just trying to get this done quickly. Much better. All right, with that piece of wood trimmed and sanded down, it's now time to get to this big bar. This is that backing plate I mentioned. Just went and bought a couple of new cutoff wheels. Actually wearing my safety goggles because when I'm metal flying. And yeah, let me get this new cutting wheel on here and see if we can cut this. It's funny, yesterday I couldn't find the grinder, so I tried using a jigsaw. Wasn't happening. I didn't have the right blade, but I figured, hey, it's what I had. I didn't care if I broke the blade. I'd give it a shot. I think it scratched it. That's about all it did. It scratched it. So let me get this thing cut. Here's my piece of stainless, and you can see I have this blue tape here, and that's telling me that I need to cut on the inside lines of that blue tape on each side, and then I'll get rid of that, foot on one side, 10 inches or so on the other. So I'm going to try cutting it, and I'm going to try beveling or grinding the edge a little bit curved. We'll see how that works. All right, so I've got one of these cutoff wheels. I'm going to try and see if I can get this thing on here. Thing off of there. Cutoff wheel on now. Okay, I now have it cut. I'm just going to go ahead and clamp it right down here with this wooden clamp. What I'm going to try and do is round this edge a little bit here just to get it a little bit smoother. And I put a grinding bit on this. It's a 24 grit metal grinding wheel. This may seem odd, but this will also do a good job of just getting what I got with the grinder smooth. But I'm going to do very gentle pressure because I don't want to tear up this belt. All right, let me show you what this piece of steel looks like. You can kind of see here, I just rounded the edges very slightly here. Just so that it's not a hard edge. You can see this down below. And I've just lightly sanded this. I'll probably go with a bit more of a buffing compound on there rather than sandpaper for this next one, just to get it shiny. Again, it's it's just going to be on the ceiling of the galley. And then I did the exact same thing over here. You can see it kind of rounded the edges a little bit so they're not square and sharp. Beveled it in this direction. And then rounded it in this direction. And then sand it very lightly with just an 80 grit sandpaper to get rid of the sharp metal edges that were there from the grinder. Oh, damn. I know these aren't huge projects or huge things we're getting done, but they're the little tiny things that need to be done to be able to finish the bigger pieces. That small piece of wood I need to be able to put the traveler bar mount for the mizzen on. That piece of stainless steel backing plate I just cut, that lets me put the main sheet traveler car on, because that's the backing plate that goes down inside the galley. So these little things are what's going to help me progress, and in the next day or so I'll be able to get these items bedded back down, which will be great. Well, I'm back down at the boat. I'm going to bring the boom on, and I think I'm going to try and get maybe some of those parts that I worked on a little earlier bedded down on the boat. Maybe the main sheet traveler. We'll see. Let me get the boom. I hear raindrops, and I'm not leaving all my expensive camera gear in the rain to catch that filming while I can walk to the car. Of course, as soon as I got the boom and started carrying it, it started pouring. So I just put the boom on the deck of the boat, closed everything up, and I'm going to bring the hardware back and see if I can just assemble it at home to get ready for putting the mizzen traveler back on. So that's going to be the next steps. Talked a lot about this boom. You can really see it here. Sure does look good. Nick has the rails welded, but still needs to join the different sections so they look straight. But on the stern side, I do like the way these stainless stanchions go up through the top of the cap rail. You can see how they're attached at the bottom side of it. See in the corner, it's attached to the tow rail, through the cap rail to the welded top. And to give you an idea, that is somewhere between waist and chest high for me, which is great. And then you can see the next ones. I had them add these stanchions just because the line that's going to go through the middle, the cable, if we cut this from here all the way to the middle section of the boat, it would have cut off a section here on the curve. So by putting the extra stanchion in there, it gives us that nice curve that the cable will follow as well. We've got the center one. Forgive the sail stuff tied up here, it's just to keep it shaded while he's working in this heat. And then we kind of go all the way up the front here. And again, you get a sense for what that looks like going forward. If you're wondering the height for me, I'm standing here holding the handrail. So, like I said, this is probably the deepest spot, and it's down a little bit. You know, it's somewhere between waist and chest high for me. Then obviously as I step up, you know, it goes down to waist high, right? Because there's a step coming out of the cockpit here. It's the perfect height for holding on to as you go forward. If you look at what it would be like going forward, you can really see just how it's kind of just the perfect height. One hand on the top of the coach house roof right here, and then the other one on the rail right up there. It'd just be really comfortable. Good morning, I'm back down on the boat, and today I'm going to do again a couple of miscellaneous items. It was this thunderstorming pretty good about 30 minutes ago, so I've got to see how the rain situation seems to hold out to see if I try and put another coat of Allwood MA down. If not, I'm thinking I might be able to get at least the main sheet traveler bedded, and I'm kind of just looking at a couple of other small things to do. But the boat has been sitting here for a long time, and talking to the yard yesterday, they said, hey, you know, might want to just check your impellers, make sure they're good, put some soapy water inside of those areas, kind of flush the lines. And I thought, man, that's a great point. These things have been sitting dry for this long. I don't want to crank it up and have, you know, the blades of the impellers be stiff and just crack off because they're dry and not lubricated. So I'm hoping I can get that done today as well, and that's one of those things that I'll kind of be saving, and in the event it starts to drizzle or rain, I can hop down below and get some more work done. So, and I'm going to go down and check those impellers, maybe batteries, whatnot, just make sure we're in good shape for bleeding and starting the engine, not only with the main engine, but also, you know, the generator as well. So I went down below and I started this project like I would any other strainer project. I turned off the primary seacock to the water inlet for the primary motor. I put a small bucket underneath it to catch some of the water to keep it from running down into the bilge. But what I noticed is more water was coming out of this than I expected. I sort of just suspected, okay, it's running in from the lines or something. And I moved the bucket, and what I was actually finding out is when the seacock was turned all the way off, you can see the water is still running. It is not closing all the way, so it's a bit defective. I'm going to have the yard replace this when they lift it up out of the water, when they lift the boat out of the water, to do some touch-up on the paint.
It is shockingly clean.
So it's now time to move over to the impeller portion of the motor. So I'm on the back side of the water pump here, and you can see I'm taking the screws out. You can see water running out of it the whole time. That's because of that seacock that isn't closing all the way.
When I cleaned the sea strainer on the main engine intake, I noticed that the valve didn't shut off all the way. Not a great scenario there for sure. Let me kind of show you what I've got going on here. See if I can get an angle here the right way. I think it looks like it's in good shape, but I gotta be honest, it's having a tough time getting my head into that location, so I'm going to use this footage to see.
I had a momentary lapse of thought here. What I ended up doing to make this a little easier after fighting this for a little bit was to essentially open the sea strainer so the water flowed out into the bilge back there rather than coming out the impeller cover on the pump.
Now that we've got the main engine done and checked, the impeller was in great shape. I went ahead and injected some soap all around the fins. I do have a problem with that seacock. It doesn't shut off all the way, but for another time. Now I'm down in the lower salon. I'm going to do the same thing, check the strainer as well as the impeller on the generator itself. Let me show you where those are. So as we go down the lower salon, the actual strainer is in the floor of the head, but there's the strainer right there, and my generator is mounted inside of this bench table area. So I will get all the covers pulled off of that and figure out where the impeller is, because I've not serviced this one yet. I was having a bit of a mental nap on this. I don't know why. I was having a hard time finding the impeller, and it's in a very obvious spot. It is right there. So nice and easily accessible. I'll go ahead and get to that. I replaced the impeller as well as the impeller cover gasket on the primary motor, and then it was time to move on to the generator. So this was basically a repeat of the entire process, just on a smaller engine. But again, new impeller and new gaskets for all of them, and I added a little soapy water into the housings of each, just to make sure it was well lubricated when the motor started up for the first time. Now that I have the strainers clean for both the primary engine and the generator, I went ahead and inspected and checked the impeller for the main engine, and it was great. I checked the one for the generator, and it has a slight crack in one of the splines, so I'm going to go ahead and replace it. I'm fairly certain in my storage shed I have a bunch of spare parts, including oil filters and also new impellers, so I'm going to go check and see in there real quick. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and if you did, do us a favor, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and next week join us as we go over the entire new fuel system. Thanks everybody, safe sailing, and have fun.